welcome back. Today's book is In 5 Years by Rebecca Serle. And I feel like this was more of a short story or a novella versus like a full-length novel. It was only about 6 hours long, which was a nice reprieve. It was nice because I have probably 3 or 4 more books on the back burner that are paused and queued up to be delivered to me. And so it was nice to spend just a couple days on a book rather than a couple weeks. Although I do feel like there was a lot going on in this novel, and if it had been a bit longer, we could have tackled things more fully, or perhaps if we had just taken a couple elements out, I would have felt like it was a bit more complete. As it is, I enjoyed it. And the essence of this book is the protagonist falls asleep, spends an hour in the future, and it impacts the next couple years of her life, which I thought was a really cool concept. And a little bit of a spoiler here, it didn't actually have any effect or change on her life. I don't know if I should be disappointed about that or not, but to think that she knew the exact date and time of where she was, but she didn't actually do anything to change the course of events. Well, what was the whole point? But we're getting ahead of ourselves. The main character, her name is Danielle, and we meet Danielle as she is interviewing for her dream job. She's a corporate lawyer in New York, and this company has been the place that she has wanted to work for ages. And the thing about Danielle is she is very structured. She lives her life by numbers, and she just likes things to be the way they're supposed to be. She's not huge into surprises, and she's not a very emotional person. We do learn that her brother had died when they were younger, and part of me, I like this idea that her brother died, but this is one of those things that I felt like had a massive impact on her characterization, but we don't actually get into it that much. But because of conversations that she has with her best friend Bella, we come to realize that whether she recognized it or meant it to or not, his death shaped who she was. And I thought that was a really huge thing that we kind of missed out on, but we're getting ahead of ourselves again. What else is to do? So she is dating this guy named David. They've been together about 2 years, and she's thinking he's gonna propose. She also has a best friend named Bella, who is her polar opposite. Bella is the epitome of a free spirit. She's super wealthy, but had neglectful parents, and so she and Danielle, or Dannie, are like sisters. In some ways, Danny's parents raised Bella because her parents were never around. So they have a very, very close relationship, and their relationship is what I liked most about this novel, and it was kind of the crux of the novel. But at the same time, I wish we'd gotten more of it. I feel like some of the romance aspects got in the way of that core essence of the novel. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. She goes to interview, she kills it. She knows she kills it. She goes to dinner with David. They're at this beautiful restaurant, and she is so excited because she knows he's gonna propose. Yet moments come and moments go, and he doesn't propose, and I'm thinking, okay, I guess not. Eventually, he does propose. They head home, and we get a lot of background on them. We get a lot of background on how they met, how they're perfect for each other, where they live, how they align. For me, it was a little problematic for where we end up because I thought it was misleading. Maybe it could just be a lack of experience when it comes to relationships, but I thought they were a really great couple. But again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So they go home. She ends up falling asleep, and this is when it happens. She wakes up. She's in a completely different apartment. She no longer has David's ring on her finger. There's another man there. That is not David. And on the TV, she notices that it is December 15th, 2025. So she has gone 5 years into the future. According to the summary, she spends an hour in the future. That's neither here nor there, but I thought it was really neat how she reacted to it. because I was reviewing another book, Outlander, and I thought she lacked a reaction, period, considering she was thrown back in time and had no clue what was happening. And even when she did figure out, hey, I time traveled, she had very little reaction. So I liked that Dannie freaked out. She was like, what is happening? Who is this guy? She realized this is her apartment that she lives in with him, and it's in a completely different area of town than she ever wanted to live in. So even the fact, like I mentioned that for Outlander, even the fact that she's living in a part of town she never wanted to live in threw her for a loop. And those are those little things that I think help to establish what's happening. So anyways, she has a little bit of convo with this dude who we learn is named Aaron, because she's like, who is he and why am I with him instead of David? So she snoops around, she pulls out his driver's license. His name is Aaron. They end up sleeping together. She wakes back up in her own time and place and naturally is freaked out about what happened. She does see a counselor a handful of times. Nothing is really resolved, but this shapes her life. So we fast forward 5 years. She and David still have not married. She's moved up in her firm. They've moved to kind of their dream apartment. This incident, specifically her sleeping with this other guy, has prevented her from being able to set a wedding date via conversation with Bella. Bella tells Dannie that she doesn't think Dannie loves David, that Dannie wants to marry David. Like, she might love him, but she's not in love with him. This is piggybacking off the death of her brother, in that she has cut herself off emotionally and has not allowed herself to love and to be loved. And all that Bella wants for Dannie is to experience that kind of love. These conversations do have Dannie start to question her feelings towards David and what their relationship really means. And this is where I struggled, because I thought the introduction painted a picture of a truly great couple. And again, it could be my inexperience, but so when I was reading another review, and it posed the question of different kinds of love in relationships presented here. There's the passionate love, there's that old settled love, and then there's like that friendship love. Ask any couple that's been together for any amount of time, the heat doesn't always stay. Eventually, your partner essentially becomes your best friend. So I had a hard time swallowing the fact that this is just a settled love. For me, the fact that they, by this point, engaged 5 years, together 2 years prior before the engagement, that's 7 years. I mean, that's plenty of time for them to just settle into a relationship of romantic love, but we've gotten past the heat and the honeymoon, and now we have settled into, this is my best friend and we're together forever. I do see where Serle is going, and I do appreciate where she's going, and I didn't necessarily have an issue with it as a whole, but I mourned that relationship that I was given in the beginning. We do see how they've fallen into a rhythm at that 2-year mark when she is proposed to, but I felt like she really likes or loves this man. And so 5 years later, it's almost like, would she have felt differently if she'd never gone 5 years into the future? Which, again, it's a paradox. It really is. I could speak in circles regarding this. It made me sad to see the dissolution of their relationship because of something that may or may not have been real, because of something that Dannie held on to. Anywho, again, I'm getting ahead of myself. That's my problem. They are engaged. They have started settling and doing their life. Bella has also started settling because she was super flighty. Like, couldn't settle down with a man, couldn't settle down with a place, could never finish what she started. She does own a gallery. She is an artist. She has met somebody. She has met him via a dating app, and this makes Danny skeptical. However, Bella is like, he is totally different. And wouldn't you know, when Danny meets him, it's Aaron. Bella calls him Greg. I guess his name is Aaron Gregg. And I thought this was quite clever, so I'm gonna jump ahead a little here, where when it's very interesting. Again, it's a paradox where the things that Danny learns, does, and says in that jump forward for that 1 hour, they shape how she sees him and knows him and all that kind of stuff, so that then that just feeds into the natural timeline of things. So when she hits that jump forward mark, so I thought it was really just a great concept. So his name is Aaron Gregory, just everybody calls him Greg, and so the fact that she calls him Aaron is not because people call him Aaron, it's because when she looked at his driver's license, that was his name. So I thought that was really cool, but she's thrown off, and she just doesn't know how to interact or act around him. But Bella is desperate for Danny to like Aaron, or to like Greg, because this is her person. And they have a relationship like she's never had with any other man. Eventually, Danny says, "Oh, I'm just not used to having to share you with anybody." So they start moving along, but she does decide, so she wants to live in Gramercy Park. The apartment that she had woken up in is in Dumbo, which I had no clue what that Dumbo stands for, down under the Manhattan Bridge overpass. I know very little about New York, so I don't know what good places to live are. But she's like, well, if that's where the apartment was, I'm just gonna go down there. Maybe I'm gonna run into him. They do run into each other, and he reveals to her, I think he'd been on a bike ride. I think he had seen her, but then he'd had to double back because he wanted to talk to her, but he was afraid to talk to her just because of the way she'd reacted. Anyways, so he takes her to the apartment, and it is bare bones. He's an architect, and he's recently purchased this apartment. He's gonna renovate it for Bella. Danny, trying to curb the future events, is like, I don't think you should move in there, but she also doesn't want to completely dissuade her. So there's this whole thing kind of sprinkled throughout where she doesn't want Bella to end up there, but she also can't lie about why. Because Aaron has now entered the picture, Danny's like, David and I, we gotta get married. And we gotta get married before December 15th, because that is the day that I woke up and I was wearing another man's ring and I was living with him in another apartment. They start getting things together, but their lives continue to get in the way of this, and it's not a priority for them. And eventually, Bella comes to Danny and she's like, I'm pregnant. Well, and here's the major spoiler, sort of, not really. This is the whole crux of the novel, and this is the turning point. This is the midpoint of the novel. Bella is not pregnant. Bella has ovarian cancer. Well, there's a huge rush to have surgery to remove her organs to prevent the spread of the cells, because at this point it hasn't really spread throughout her body, but they don't actually know how bad it is. She gets everything removed. She starts chemo, and she seems to be a little hesitant to have Danny around, but Danny's like, I'm gonna be there. However, there is also this really important client that her company is taking care of, and her boss comes to her and he's like, look, if this goes well for you, this is like your junior partner case. So she's super excited about it. However, to handle this case, I don't know if she'd have to move to California, but the company is based out of California, so she would have to be in California for some kind of amount of time. So I'm thinking, all right, here's a conundrum. It's really not a conundrum, and that's when I feel like we have one or two too many elements in this novel. I feel like the brother, I feel like Aaron, and even her work, and a little bit of kind of Bella and Bella's family life, I kind of would have liked to have pared down a little bit. I feel like we needed Aaron in there because he added the tension, he created the tension, but we just didn't get enough of the brother to really, in my eyes, for him to matter so much in her life. Like, I get it. I do understand why he made such a huge impact. But we had 4 or 5 passing mentions of him without really getting into it, just due to time. And so I felt like we could have had something else that shaped her, because, as I said, she didn't even know that the way she behaved and lived her life was a reaction to his death. Her controlling everything was a response to the fact that she had no control over his death. So now we have all of this going on with Bella doing treatment and Danny having all this going on at work, plus trying to plan a wedding. However, now that Bella is doing chemo, they're pushing it to the back. And I'm lumping all of this together. Danny and Bella have a fight because it's obvious the chemo is not working. The cancer, it's like a stage 3. The cancer is worse than they thought. It has spread to more areas than they thought. Bella gets upset with Danny because she feels like Danny treats her like a child, which to me, that's how she was painted. When we are first introduced to her, she's super flighty. She can't maintain a relationship. Like, she can't even maintain one man at a time. It's always like this guy and then that guy, and then, oh, I thought you got rid of this guy, but now you're back with this guy. And you know, it's just, she's all over the world. She's always just here, there, and everywhere. I mean, you can see this is a byproduct of such an unstable home life, which her parents getting thrown into the mix. Again, it goes into having a lot of backstory on Bella. It was just one too many elements, which, because this book is really about the friendship between Bella and Danny, I think we do need backstory on Bella, because we need to know how each girl was formed, because it's a trope. Opposites attract. Like, this is the trope friendship. But I love these girls together. Anyways, Bella is like, I'm an adult. I can handle my own. Which, at the very beginning, when we find out that Bella had cancer and they're talking about insurance, this and that, Danny's like, I didn't even know she had insurance. I didn't know she had any of this stuff or could take care of any of this stuff, which I thought would have been a nice moment to kind of touch on that. Like, how is it that Bella, who she does own an art studio, but she would rather paint and is more of a free spirit, how is it that she has managed to become a mature adult? Yeah, we get this sense that she's more mature now than she was then, but it's not until she meets Aaron that we really see her settle down. Bella kicks Danny out. She's like, I don't want you to come to my chemo. Basically ghosts her. Danny tries to get in touch and Bella won't respond. Danny is contacted by her boss and he's like, look, yeah, we have this opportunity. We need to fly out to California to meet with the owners because they've decided to sell. And Danny's like, what? Like, I didn't see these women as wanting to hand over control of their business so soon. So it's not like a deep dive into the sale of the business. It's more like a meet and greet where let's get to know each other. Let's see what's happening here. But Danny sort of dives in and asks the $1 million question of, why are you selling? I didn't think you wanted to sell. So this is where I'm bundling everything together, because some of this happens later, but we're talking about it now. Eventually the boss comes to her and he's like, so did you have any more conversation them because they've decided not to sell. And in the end, yeah, they weren't ready emotionally to sell, but what they've done is, while they're not ready to sell, they are keeping her law firm on full time, I guess, to handle whatever legal matters need to be handled. And then they will also be in charge whenever this company decides to sell. So again, things are growing great for Dannie, but they are not going great for her relationship with David. I forget if I've mentioned this. Bella had questioned their relationship. Yes, I did talk about this. She and Bella do patch things up because Aaron calls her and he's like, it's not working. Chemo's not working. She's getting worse. Danny's like, well, does she want me there? Which Bella does. So they patch things up. Bella starts on a new, more intensive form of chemo, and this is when she starts to deteriorate rapidly. This is when it just has, because it's more aggressive, it shows the effects of the chemo and I don't think it's radiation, I think it's just chemo. They have this conversation, this very honest conversation, and somebody else had written where they thought, in the end, this book was going to be about Dannie and Bella realizing their feelings for each other. And I could see why. I mean, because they have a very, very close relationship, and in many ways, it does seem a little bit romantic. But what Bella reiterates is that Dannie just doesn't know how to love, and that she wants Dannie to be able to love. And Danny's response to this is, but I had you. Like, you were the major, for lack of a better term, love of my life, which as a friendship theme, I loved, because this is the most important person in her life and she's losing her. Why does my love have to be restricted to a romantic love? So it was very emotional, and I thought Serle did a really good job. Like, in terms of a book about friendship, I liked the way that these women were presented and fleshed out. Obviously, this new chemotherapy isn't working either, but it causes Dannie to go to David and suggest that maybe they move the wedding back again. She had also been on the phone with the florist, and the florist had made an ordering mistake, and so all these things coming together makes Dannie think, well, maybe not right now. Well, and thankfully, like, we finally get David standing up to her, because I personally didn't care for Dannie. I liked her before she traveled forward in time, because after, I felt like this one instance ruled her life, but she didn't actually take action to do anything about it. And the real story, in my opinion, was about Bella, and Dannie was just the narrator. So I didn't connect with Dannie at all, and I thought she treated David like crap. I felt like she really didn't take his feelings into consideration at all. And even though she didn't do anything regarding Aaron romantically, I felt like they had more sexual intention and chemistry than she had with David. This could just be real life. I'm like, why? You've come to the realization you don't want to be with David. So why are we just hanging in there? Once you start to reevaluate your relationship, can't you really try to get the flame back to burning? And when it doesn't burn, why are we stringing David along? David looks at her and he's like, I don't want to. And I don't think we're ever going to get married if we push it back. And she gives all these excuses, and he's like, no, because if we push it back to then, you're going to find another reason, and we're going to push it and push it and push it. I don't think you want to marry me. He eventually breaks up with her. She then goes and moves in with Bella, but then Bella has Aaron take Dannie back to the apartment, because, yeah, they kept the apartment, and it was Bella bought and renovated this apartment for Dannie, which I'm like, Can I have a friend like that? On some level, Bella was a little too perfect for me. All of her faults got left behind before Dannie had this future dream, for lack of a better term. And it's just like her wealth allowed her to do whatever she wanted. And I mean, I guess maybe buying and renovating an apartment is a drop in the bucket for someone with her kind of money, but that's a big deal. I mean, I need to know why. Why, except that she wants to set Dannie up for the future. But as far as she knows, Dannie's gonna marry David. And if not marry him, she's just gonna stay with him for the rest of her life. So why would she need an apartment? I thought there were some holes there. This is when Dannie is like, oh, all right. And again, I'm just thinking, what have you done to prevent this future occurrence? Like, she really has done she's half-heartedly, in my opinion, tried to prevent the future from happening, but instead of preventing it, she's let it dictate every action just to land at the same end. Bella and Aaron do get engaged somewhere along the way, and the idea is that they will get married after she gets better. And I liked Aaron, and I liked their relationship, because this is what we did not get from Dannie. We didn't get any growth from Dannie whatsoever, but we did see Bella grow. We saw her invest in a man and plan a future with a man, and we saw a man not give up on her. So we saw somebody not come for her because of her money, but because of who she is. Although I did feel like this whole let's get engaged felt more like, we know you're not gonna survive, but we're going to create this image of the future, of solidarity, of something. Like, you know, I want you to know that I was here for you, even though we both know nothing is gonna come from it. When Aaron takes Dannie to the apartment, they do kiss, and it could have led to more, but Dannie takes a step away, and I guess I just don't understand these dynamics. It's the emotion of everything, because they've had not much to do with each other, because Dannie has kept her distance, but I guess emotions got in the way, heightened emotions, and so Dannie starts living at this apartment, and then Bella dies. We do have, I'd mentioned that we have background on her regarding her parents, and her parents seem to have her because it was in vogue to have a child, but not because they wanted a child. They weren't really around for her childhood, but they pop back up when Bella gets sick. Of course, they're not there the way that Dannie thinks they need to be there, and Dannie gets incensed at when they do try to be there, because she's like, you were never here before, like, why are you here now? Bella's mother, Jill, actually reveals to Dannie that they had enrolled, because Dannie and Bella had met one summer. Bella had been living in Paris, and they had been in New York this one summer. She and Dannie had met, and Bella's parents were like, we are afraid that Bella's never going to have any friends, and she's made this one friend, so we're just going to enroll Bella in the same school as Dannie, which I was like, that's a really big thing to say, just to kind of keep moving forward. So I would have liked more from that, except for the fact that she had very flighty parents, but I was like, Bella seems to be the person that everybody loves, whether or not they have deep, meaningful relationships. It doesn't seem that she actually has a problem making friends. She's a very enigmatic, personable person. We do get a lot of this, and after Bella dies, Dannie and Aaron decide to throw like a friends only memorial service, because Dannie's like, this funeral and everything that her parents are planning, this is not Bella, and Bella would not want this. They plan it, they go through with it, and this is December 15th. This is afterwards Danny and Aaron go back to Danny's apartment, and I thought it was cool how Danny was very cognizant of the fact of the date and the time. And I liked the way that Serle wove or kind of merged the initial dream sequence into the present, because it wasn't like Danny experienced that throwback moment. She just knew she was in that moment. And so I liked the way that Serle kind of twisted what was originally said and done to suit the present. But yes, they still sleep together. And when I was trying to find summaries, what I found most was people were appalled at the fact that Danny had slept with her best friend's fiance after Bella died. I agree. I understand it's like the heat of the moment. There's a rush of emotion. They've been going through a lot. But I don't understand why Danny had to do that, especially because she knew it was going to happen. And I guess there are just some realities of life that I don't want to have to face. If I'm reading a book like this, I mean, as a writer, we choose what happens. We choose how our characters behave. Considering that Danny has no real interactions with Aaron, like no meaningful interactions with him. There are no stolen glances. There's nothing except for that one kiss when he brings her to see the apartment that one time. There's nothing that says, oh, hey, they're gonna end up in bed together. And so whether or not people do that in real life, this is fiction. This is my escape. And I wanted Danny to make a better choice. I wanted her because she recognized she did not get away from the future that she had already seen. She also realizes all the signs were there, the truth was there, I just didn't notice them the first time because that was not where my focus was. Like the fact that she was wearing Bella's engagement ring, but she was wearing it on the wrong finger. So there's all these little signs, and I'm just like, why did you have to go through with it? Like, why did we have to do this? You were not with him. The fact that he had closed at your apartment was not because you guys lived together. It was because he had been working on it, so he had just had some things left there. I didn't like Danny. I didn't like her at all. And especially because now they've slept together. They've realized it was just a rush of emotion. It did not mean anything. And I'm like, what would Bella have said? How would Bella have felt? Like, this whole night was in honor and remembrance of Bella. And this is the biggest shame that you could have put on her. If she had been alive and you slept with her fiance, she would have hated it. So how is this honoring and remembering her? I don't care. I mean, sorry, it's just a book. I think that's why there's certain types of fiction that don't resonate with me, because it's an escape for me. And I really hate when people make really, really poor decisions. Anywho, they kind of wake up and they realize, like, this is not a thing. Danny gives him Bella's ring because she's like, this was not my promise. This was your promise to Bella. You can have it back. They go their separate ways. Sometime later, she goes to the local deli to get her sandwich, and while she's there, she runs into Bella's oncologist, and we get the impression that perhaps something is in the future between those two, which I thought was nice. I'm still disappointed by the way her relationship with David ended. I would have liked the cracks to have been a little bit larger. How much she wanted this engagement and the great things that she would say about David. It just took me aback that she didn't actually love him after all. He was just there because he'd always been there. And then the fact that like they got together because she'd had a crush on her coworker who turned out to be one of his friends. So, like, she wasn't even interested in him when she met him. I don't know. Danny was deeply flawed, and very unlikable, and I didn't think she really had any redeeming features, except perhaps her friendship with Bella. But at the same time, I felt like Bella was the driving force behind this friendship, and Danny was the recipient from all that Bella did. I did relate to Danny when it came to, she just wanted the best for Bella when Bella was sick. So then Bella getting upset with her, I was like, but why would you get upset with Danny? She is named as your next of kin. Like, this is how much she means to you. So why aren't you letting her have a voice in this situation? That's the book. Thanks for listening. I'll see you soon.